Hey, if you're interested in growing your church, we're going to show you how a brand new church got 21 first time guests using the system that we're going to talk about. We're also going to show you how to use a simple Facebook ad to get as many visitors as you want every single Sunday. Also, we're going to show you the number one mistake that churches make when using Plan Your Visit that actually keeps people away from your church. And hey, before we get started, we want to share with you our top 10 church growth resources. So I'm going to drop this link here on the, actually, I'm going to share this with you real quick. If you just want to text free to 417-204-5153, it's going to give you a chance to get access to these top 10 church growth resources. So make sure you get a hold of that. But without further ado, why don't we welcome Chris Abbott here to the interview. So glad to have you, Chris.
Bro, Nathan, thanks for having me. Super excited, man.
Yeah. We're going to have some fun today as we talk about growing some churches, man. Helping people see more visitors on a weekend, making heaven more crowded, all those good things. So Chris and I go way back. He's been a great friend, and I'm really excited to just be talking to you and talking your experience with how to help people see more visitors on a weekend at their church. So, man, let's dive into this. I know that we're specifically talking about a system, but I want you just to hear from you kind of how you maybe even stumbled on to the value of what we're going to be talking about. How did you discover this? And because it's kind of a cool story, how it all unraveled, and just kind of cool how you saw this explosive growth, I guess is the best way to describe it. So I'm just going to let you jump in and talk to all of us about how did the church start growing using this system?
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting. When we first came up with this idea, it was Easter of 2017, right? So I was on staff at my church. We're trying to figure out okay, how do we just get more people in? And we were seeing visitors, but we really wanted to try to get a lot more visitors. And I just kind of had this thought of man, we have such a great culture inside of our church, right? Like we're just hospitality is a really, really big core value for us. And I was like, man, if we could just get them to church and we can host them, then that's a home game, right? And we always win home games. So it came up with this idea of Plan Your Visit, and really it's just digital marketing principles that work in the online world, like in the business world. But I was trying to figure out how they translate to the church world, right? Because in the business world, you can run a Facebook ad or Google ad or YouTube ad or something like that and try to sell something. You can send them to your website and then they go buy your thing, right? They go, buy your widget or your brand of dog food, right? Check out, and then it arrives in the mail. Well, that's there's nothing like that in the church world, right? We're not selling anything. We're not trying to get them to buy anything, trying to get them to visit on Sunday. And so I just kind of have that idea of okay, what if we use that same framework? Okay, but what does the sale look like? Because we're not trying to get them to, buy anything. And I was just thinking, well, I was like, if we could get them to schedule an appointment to visit the church, and then that way, we knew that they were coming. Not only could we reach out to them beforehand and try to answer some of the questions that keep people from wanting to come to church. It's just simple stuff oh man, what do I wear? Where do I park? I wouldn't even know what video, what door to go into. I don't know where the bathrooms are. You can handle a lot of those objections up front, right? You lower the barrier of entry for people to actually come in, because we forget. I don't know about you, Nathan. I got saved when I was 13 years old. I've been in church almost every Sunday since. Right. Except for a little rebellious period when I was 15, every Sunday, a lot of times 2 or 3 services a week. Right. So we forget just how awkward it is for someone to come to church for the very first time. Right. Especially if they're unsaved, they're unchurched, they've never been to church before, or maybe they were drugged to church when they were a kid and they haven't been back in 30 years and have a negative connotation of what church is. So Plan Your Visit is just a great way to kind of lower the barrier of entry and make it a lot easier and simpler for people to visit the church. So, what was cool is when we started using Plan Your Visit, the first month that we used it, we ended up increasing our first time visitors by 42%. In the second month by 60%, in the third month by 87%, and then in the fourth month by 113%. Right. So literally, we just saw our visitors go like this. Right. And the coolest part wasn't just visitors, right? Because everybody wants visitors, but the visitors just show up and never come back again, right? That doesn't help anybody, right? It doesn't help us, doesn't help them, right? So, but what we found was that out of those 8 out of 10 people that came through Plan Your Visit ended up joining our church within 3 weeks.
Wow.
Right. So on average, if somebody just came and visited the church, just like a normal visitor showed up on Sunday, right, it was kind of hit or miss for a little while. And if they ended up joining our church, which was it was a much lower percentage, right? It was somewhere in like the 3 to 6 month range before they would finally go through next steps and join. Also, we launched Plan Your Visit, and now 8 out of 10 people are joining the church, and they're doing it in the first 3 weeks, right? Wow. So it just sped up our assimilation process. And I think it's just because from the very first time they set foot on campus, they're making a connection with people, right? Like an actual personal connection, not just like high-fiving the greeter as they come in or having a smiling person in the parking lot. All those are important, but making an actual connection is what really matters and what really helps, with your connection and speeding up your assimilation process.
Yeah, it's like starting it earlier. You get to start it even before they come. They're already getting, in a sense, starting growth track or the assimilation process. So they're already, ready to jump in more quickly after it's like, oh yeah, this is the place I want to be. That totally makes sense. Why that's almost like another benefit of doing Plan Your Visit. Yeah. But honestly, in this interview, I didn't even put that together until you just said it. And we've talked a lot about Plan Your Visit. So that's really cool.
Dude, that's it. I mean, you think about it, like, so if someone came to church, like if one of your buddies, right, like you'd been talking about coming to church, you invite him and he comes out to church, there's a pretty good chance he's like going to get plugged in and, like join the church, like, because he knows you, right? Like he's not just showing up like and not knowing anybody, right? Like he shows up knowing you, like, oh yeah. Like, and then like when people are like, oh, hey, dude, you're Nathan's friend, right? That at least gives them a little bit of an identity. He's like, oh yeah, hey, what's up? I'm Abbo, right? And then you get a chance to meet him. It's like, oh yeah, like you're Nathan's friend. When you come in for the first time, you have no idea, right? It's like, I call it like high school cafeteria syndrome, right? It's like you walk in the high school cafeteria the first day of high school and like look around. Like I legit had a plan. Like I remember like, I'm gonna go in, like no matter what, I'm gonna look around. Like I'm gonna find like the cool kids or like my friends, whatever. Like I'm doing. And I walked in and got nervous. Like I freaked out because it feels like everyone's looking at you, right? And they're not. They're just, but everyone's like looking around. It feels like I'm like, ah. And then I sat down at the very first table right as you walk in by myself like a loser. And I'm like, dang, I did exactly what I said I wasn't going to do. Right. Well, the same exact thing happens to our visitors, right? So people are like, oh, I guess they're sitting in the back because they want to be left alone and they just kind of want to check out the service. Not at all. They want to connect with people. They're sitting in the back because that's where the door is. Right. Like they walked in the door, had that like freak out moment of like, everyone knows that I don't belong here. And they just sit down. Real quick, right. So that Plan Your Visit helps cure all that. Right. And it kind of speeds up the assimilation process because they basically make a friend the very first time that they come out to campus.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually had that experience recently where I had some time off. And so I was able to go visit a place and another church, and man, totally nowhere to hide. And didn't know anybody. Everyone knew, like it was a smaller church, and everyone knew, like, okay, my wife and I went, and it's like, oh, they're first time guests. It would have really helped, to be able to have somebody I know and then walk in with them or have it, some kind of conversation like sanctuary, when the pastor sees, oh, you must be new. Like we don't get very many of you. And I'm a teaching pastor. Like I'm a pastor. Like I'm a professional Christian. And for me, it was like scary. So it just reminds me of that kind of thing. And this takes that out of it, which is a huge obstacle for people. So man, this is like super good and super powerful. So well, continue on, man.
Well, yeah. So, and you nailed it, bro. Right. Like I actually went to, I was visiting a church in Michigan one time, whatever. I was actually up there like doing some consulting. I went to church for the first time and I was actually really, really impressed because, and this is, something you kind of learn along the way, especially like we did this with our Plan Your Visit host is like this guy like didn't recognize me. Right. So instead of coming up and being like, dude, are you new? Because then you feel awkward and you feel like, oh, do I stick out like a sore thumb? Right. Do I still smell like cigarettes from the night before? Or like, does he know I was out doing sinful, shameful stuff? Right. Like, because that's people who are far from God. Number one, that's what they do. And number two, that's how they feel when they come in. Right. But instead, like he just came out and he goes, hey man, I don't think we've met. My name's John. Right. And I was like, oh, hey, John, man, I'm Chris. He's like, oh man, Chris, that's awesome. Dude, how long have you been going to the church? And immediately I was like, this guy's been trained and knows what's up. Right. Like,
yeah.
You knew right? Like, hey, we've never met before. My name's John. Okay, hey, I'm Chris. Like, man, how long have you been going to the church is a much better question than are you new?
Right.
Right. Because so I was like, actually, this is my first time. It's like, bro, that's awesome. Man, like what brought you here? Right. And so I started explaining it, and and then he was offered, hey, let me give you a tour of the building, man. You wanna see where the magic is made or something like that. Anyway, it made me laugh. We went around and just kind of showed it to me. But that's exactly what Plan Your Visit is, right? Like, only luckily they had trained people and I got there early enough that somebody noticed me. But otherwise, there's no way to have that connection. Plan Your Visit. Make sure you have that experience every single time from the beginning with every single visitor, right? So, and it's basically this, like Plan Your Visit. All it is giving people the option to basically sign up and make an appointment to visit your church, so that you can assign a friendly person to meet them at the front door, help them get their kids checked into kids' church, give them a tour of the church if they want to, save seats for them in service, sit with them in service, right? So they don't have that high school cafeteria, experience. And it really just helps them to connect with a person. Like whenever I do it, I like to, take them around, introduce them to some key families in the church, right? Some key leaders, right? So I introduce them to all the cool people. I kind of like shield them from all the weird people, right? So just making sure that they're going to have a great time. So Ben, you asked about the first time we did this. In 2017, we decided to do this for Easter. And so I just kind of launched. I went in and I created a page on our website, a Plan Your Visit page, just talking about Plan Your Visit. Like, hey, sign up for Plan Your Visit, and we'll, meet you at the front door, and save seats for you in service, and help you get your kids checked in, and introduce you to some cool people, right? Like, and just kind of listed out all the things we would do, and then have like a little, button where they click that or whatever, and just fill out name, email, and phone number. And, it went off. So what was cool is I went to Katie. She was in charge of guest services. I said, okay, Katie, I'm going to launch this thing. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to give it a shot for Easter. She's like, yeah, I love it. Like, I was like, okay, just whenever you get the emails that somebody signed up, just call them, right, and kind of set that up, and then just assign a host for them. She's like, yep, no problem. I got a whole team ready to go, right? Because you don't actually have to train anybody. That's like this is probably the number one mistake that people make when they try Plan Your Visit is they're like, okay, here's what we're gonna do is we're gonna train, we're gonna get all of our volunteers together, and we're gonna create this brand new ministry, and we're gonna have new volunteers, and we're gonna train them over like a month, and blah blah blah. Right? Those people, I'm not kidding. I've been teaching this since 2017 when we figured it out. Those churches literally never launch Plan Your Visit. The best way to launch Plan Your Visit is Ready, Fire, Aim, which is what we did. That's maybe why that works best. Way better than training people, right? So But so Katie was like, yeah, great. Like, run the ad. I'll handle everybody. I'm like, okay, great. So we go in there, we start running, Facebook ads and to Plan Your Visit. And it's like, boom, we get the first one. I'm like, this is awesome. Right. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got 5. I'm like, whoa, it's crazy. 13. Good gracious. All right. Like 25. And all of a sudden it was just like, it just took off. It was like, poof, right. Like, now it was Easter, right? So like, people come to church on Easter and that kind of stuff. But it exploded, bro. So Katie comes like running into my office like a week before Easter. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, turn the ads off. Like, I ran this a long time ago. Like, we have all these people signing up for Plan Your Visits. Like, I can't host all of them. We're overwhelmed. This is crazy. I can't believe this is working. And so it was nuts. So like, we had to, pause. Wow. I'm like, oh shoot. Like, we were on, we'd only had them running for maybe a week or something at that point. And we were on pace to have over 100 Plan Your Visits that very first Sunday. So we definitely didn't have for that. So it was, it was pretty interesting. And then, I started looking at the numbers of like how many people have been responding to the ad and clicking through. Right. And so, because not every single person that clicks through and goes to your Plan Your Visit page is going to sign up for Plan Your Visit. Right. Typically, it's usually about every 200 or 300 clicks to do that. Right. Because you got plenty of people who accidentally click on your ad or, whatever it is, but a lot of people just want to go there and check it out. Not every single person you invite is going to come to church. But for every 200 or 300 clicks, I started looking at it and I was like, dude, we've had over 10,000 clicks to that Plan Your Visit page. And this is crazy. So I started going to like our kids people and I was like, all right, hey, I think we're going to have a fairly large amount of people here on Sunday. So like, I wouldn't just have the check-in station right there for the kids. I would actually have like, if you guys could do like mobile iPads or something like that, just so you can go down the line and check people in. And I remember they were like, okay, Abbo, stick to the marketing and music stuff. We'll handle the kids check-in stuff. Like, that's our area. And I was like, listen, I get it. And normally I wouldn't say anything, but I'm telling you guys, based on what I'm seeing, I think it's going to be big. And they're like, okay, yeah. We've got a good plan. So I was like, all right. So fast forward to Sunday morning, Easter Sunday, 2017, we show up and immediately we max out our main sanctuary, right? Which seats like 2,000 people or something like that, right? So we max out like the main sanctuary. Then we start seating people in the overflow sanctuary. Then we max out the overflow sanctuary. And then we get word that our kids building is 3 times over the legal capacity of what the fire marshal have in the building, right? So there's like kids like spilling out the building into the street, right? It was pretty crazy. So they're like, we got to shut down kids check-in. Like, we've got too many kids in the building. And so I'm like looking around, I'm like, okay, we don't have room for people in our main sanctuary. We don't have room for people in our overflow sanctuary. And by the way, you also can't check your kids into kids' church because we're illegally violating fire codes over there and we have too many kids in the building. Right. So the best part, at least for me, because I felt vindicated, is there's this long line from the kids' check-in booth because they didn't do the iPad thing. And it went all the way through our lobby, all the way down the hallway, and then spilled out into went down the parking lot of kids parents waiting in line, trying to check in their kids to kids' church. And then we had to tell all those people, we're so sorry. We don't have any seats left and we don't have room for your kids in our kids' church. So like legit, we had over 1,000 people who were stuck outside the church on Easter Sunday who couldn't get a seat and couldn't check their kids into kids' church. Right.
Wow.
So at that point, it was like, I think we might've just tapped into something, right? Like,
yeah.
So like all the kids workers did come up to me on Sunday. I was leading worship, right? So I didn't have to deal with that mess. So I came out there, I'm like sipping coffee in the lobby, like just like looking around, like, well, this is a lot of chaos. Like, okay, Abbo, great job, but we hate you.
This is all your fault.
yeah. Should have got a couple of iPads, huh? No big deal.
Right. Yeah. You didn't listen to me.
So it was a lot of fun, but that was like after that, right? So like, okay, anybody can get a bunch of people to come out for Easter. But it's like, will this work just for a regular Sunday? Like just, hey, we're having church this Sunday, nothing special, no event, right? And that's when, so it just, kept that planner visit at, changed it from Easter Sunday to just this Sunday. Then, kept that planner visit page, ran a couple of Facebook ads like, hey, we want to invite you to visit God's church this Sunday. And then all of a sudden, like, it was like every week was like 5 planner visits, 10 planner visits, 15 planner visits. It just kept going up, right? And so obviously Easter is in April, right? In May, we increased our first-time visitors year over year because we track all that. We increased our first-time visitors in May by 42%, in June by 60%, in July by 87%, and then in August by 113%. And then, like I said, we grew the church over the summer, and our Next Steps class, which is like our, what we have for church membership when people join the church, our Next Steps class just exploded, and 8 out of 10 people that were coming through Plan Your Visit were joining our church within 3 weeks. So it's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of fun, man.
That's awesome. Well, okay, so I want to just summarize this for some that are listening. Like, the reason why a pastor should care about Plan Your Visit is if they're interested in getting more visitors on a weekend. I mean, that's one major reason. Another one is to help people get plugged in quicker. And again, going back to that idea of just starting the assimilation process even before they come on a Sunday, where you've made that connection. And that's really the glue that's going to keep them connected, is that they know people. It's no longer awkward. Yeah. It's no longer, and taking that out of their experience when they first get there, I think has a massive, it has to have a massive impact on their perception and their overall experience of the church. If you go to the church for the first time and you're having to wade through that experience of getting to know people and starting conversations, things like that, versus if you've already done that, and then now you walk into a situation where it's like you don't even have to deal with that. I think for me, being somewhat more introverted, that would make the experience so much better. Yeah. And I think they walk away with a better perception of the church, more likely to come back. Obviously, it's easier for them to assimilate into the church. So for those listening, the reason they should care about Plan Your Visit is like if they want to see more visitors on a weekend and want them to get plugged in, and ultimately, the longevity of really helping make disciples. That's what it's not about just a big event, although that's cool and amazing. We want to see more visitors, but it's really about the lasting impact that the church leaders can have by plugging more people in to the life of the church. So did I summarize that? Okay. I mean, why
you nailed it, bro? Nailed it.
Awesome. Okay. So So maybe let's get a little bit more into some of the details of like what are the things, the components of Plan Your Visit? I mean, maybe still keep it somewhat high level, but like, how does this actually work? If someone has no idea necessarily what planning their visit is, I mean, you hit on it a little bit, just like, but like I could even share Belief Church, that kind of thing. But wherever you want to start, like in terms of mindset, tools, volunteers, like what are the big components of Plan Your Visit?
Yeah, so I would say let's why don't I'll kind of walk through what the components are, like kind of the four main pieces, and then afterwards we'll show them an example. You can pull up Belief Church and
okay, cool.
Look at that. So and really it's pretty simple, right? The framework, the Plan Your Visit framework is basically has four parts, right? The first one is traffic. You have to figure out how to get people from the interwebs to your website. Mm-hmm. Right. So you can do that with Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube videos, Google ads, right? Like search engine optimization, whatever you want to, but you have to find a traffic source. You have to get people from the internet to your church website. My personal favorite way to do that is with Facebook ads. I've been doing that for years. I've seen really good, results. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah, good results. And for those that are watching, we actually, when I was a communications director at a church I was previously at, we hired Chris to help us with all of this. So that's actually where Chris and I first got to know each other is through that process, and it was amazing. We saw lots of great results. So and we used those Facebook ads to drive that traffic to our website.
Yep. And if I remember right, and I mean that was a while ago. It was a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. But I think you guys went from like 1,200 to 1,600, 1,200 to 15 or 1,600 in that 6 months, I think.
We definitely experienced growth, and it was amazing. I mean, really, it was our lead pastor had found you through another pastor who you were helping them as well, and so it was kind of word of mouth how we got a hold of you. And the Facebook ads were an incredible part of reaching our community. And it was really cool because we had recently moved into a new building, so we had more space. So now it was like, okay, so we're like, okay, we got the space. Now we need to turn on the traffic to get people here because we actually have room to grow. And so that was really cool. It's like perfect timing for us.
Yeah. I think it's, dude. Yeah, man, those are fun times, bro. So that was. And that's exactly it, right? Like if you've got space, if you've got the room to grow, using the Plan Your Visit framework is, I think it's something to at least consider. It's worked really, really well for me. But you can use any type of traffic source. Facebook ads are great because they're highly targetable. Google ads are great, especially like the Google grant, right? Where Google will give you $10,000 in free Google ads every single month, right? So you can target people, use Google's money to pay for it, send them to your website where people can sign up for Plan Your Visit. Excuse me. So that's the first thing, right? You need a traffic source like Facebook ads or Google ads. All right. The people click on that, then they go to step 2 is a Plan Your Visit landing page. Right. So this is not your homepage. It's not like your contact page. It's not even your new here page. This is a separate page, like a Plan Your Visit page that only talks about Plan Your Visit. And there's only one call to action. Right. So a call to action is like a button for them to click on. There should not be any extra buttons. There's no like pre-register your kids or check out our small groups or here's the set list for Sunday. Right. There's just one button and you should have it on there multiple times. It should just be a Plan Your Visit now button. Right. So they, click on a Facebook ad or Google ad. They go to your Plan Your Visit page. It explains what Plan Your Visit is, and then has a button where they can click that and actually sign up for Plan Your Visit. All right. And then the third part of that is the hosted visit itself, right? Where when they show up, there's an actual person who's waiting for them at the front door, right? Like if they sign up for this, whatever, and then then they don't hear from anybody and nobody's there on Sunday. Like, I guess I just walk in, right? Like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
The whole part of it is the fact that there's a friendly person waiting for them at the front door to kind of show them around, right? And so, so that part's really important. And then the final part is having an extended follow-up system to plug them into, right? So you want like a Facebook ad that goes to a Plan Your Visit landing page, right? And then the hosted visit on Sunday, and then plug them into a follow-up system afterwards. To get them to come back again. And so you want to pull up Belief Church. We kind of walk through what an example Plan Your Visit landing page might look like.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll share my entire screen here, and then okay. Do you see Belief Church, Chris?
Yep. That's
okay. So this is the Plan Your Visit page that we have here, and
so try going to beliefchurch.com/visit. I think this is the visit page.
Okay.
I think that's the one.
Okay. Yeah, yes. Perfect.
So there's a couple of differences from this. Like for, the first thing, it's like on the last page, there was like a header and stuff like that, right? On this one, there's no header. It gets right into it, which is really important when you're trying to invite somebody, basically from the internet, right? Like they live within driving distance of your community, but you kind of want to dive straight into it. And so above the fold, which is before you have to scroll, is everything that you see there. So the first thing that we did this an actual video that we made for Guts. That's my friend Katie. So I was telling you guys, Katie, who came running into my office, like, oh my gosh, right? She ended up being like our Plan Your Visit coordinator. So we made like a quick video. We don't need to watch the whole thing, but it's basically the reason we started outside is we're like, hey, so we have those big red Guts letters out there. That's where our visitor parking is, right? So it's just her being like, hey, what's up? Man, we want you to come to Plan Your Visit to Guts on this Sunday. You're actually, when you get here, you're going to park right out here beneath the big red Guts letters. And they're going to walk in through these doors. So like, come on, let's head inside. And then she walks in the doors, and we followed her all the way through there and kind of like did one of those things where it like kind of speeds up the video, just because we wanted people to see what it looks like from the time they pull into the parking lot to the time they like come through the doors with some friendly people, walk through the hallway to get into the lobby, right? Show them like the coffee bar. And then we actually just spliced in like some footage of the like kid services and that kind of stuff. So if you guys want to see that, you can always go to beliefchurch.com/visit. You can watch that video. And it kind of shows some of that's about 1.5 minutes long, but you can do that, or you can literally just make a selfie video where you're just welcoming the church and kind of explaining what Plan Your Visit is. But we wanted to not only tell them, but actually show them. So we did that video. And then I specifically wrote like, will you come to church with me this Sunday on purpose? Because I wanted it to feel like a personal invite, right? Like from Katie, and not just like a kind of a corporate invite, right? That doesn't do it. So
that's good.
Yeah. And then if you want to scroll down, we'll just show like, so, 42% of website visitors are on there looking for location and service time. So put the service time up there, and then, right, it's just, hey, first time at Belief Church, don't want to go alone. Or maybe you've been a few times, you like to meet Pastor John and Heather, take a tour of the building and meet some new people. Right. Plan Your Visit now. We'll reserve a parking spot for you, meet you at the front door, introduce you to some great people, help you get your kids checked in, give you a tour of the church, save you a seat in service, and make sure that you meet Pastor John. Now, that last one is really, really important. I put it on there. There's two reasons that one's on there. Number one is that 80. Oh gosh, I'm probably going to forget this. It's like 82%, right? Let's just say 80%, but it's in the 80s somewhere. 80% of people who meet the pastor on the first visit will come back for a second visit, right?
Wow.
So like 80% of people who meet the pastor on the first visit will come back for a second visit. So one of the things that you have to do is just make sure that all of your new visitors meet the pastor while they're there. So this is why, like, and so we would tell all of our people, like our Plan Your Visit team is just like, hey, no matter what happens, right? Like, even if the whole thing's a train wreck, just make sure that they meet Pastor Bill and it's all good, right? Like 80% of those people will come back again for a second visit. The other reason that I made it the last one is because whenever people are reading a list, they tend to only remember the last thing. Right? Like the way our brains work, you see all that different stuff and you remember the last thing, that's the one that sticks with you, right? So if you were to ask, hey, what happens with Plan Your Visit? It's like, I think there's like a person waiting for me and stuff, and like I get to meet the pastor, so yeah, right? Like they'll just remember that last one. That's what we and that's most people want to meet the pastor, right? So right. And then so we had the Plan Your Visit Now button, and then we can just kind of scroll through the rest, like kind of quick, whatever. You can see like, so service times, location, right? Find your people, discover your purpose, Plan Your Visit. Just kind of talking about why people might want to visit, and then have another video from Katie just inviting people out. Right. Hey, here's what happens when you plan your visit. And again, we said the same thing. Again, I did that on purpose because I know that people don't, when they're on the internet, they don't read, they scan. So that's why we put everything with lots of, I like to call it snack size information. So you can just easily see, right. Like, hey, wear whatever you want, drink coffee in the sanctuary, meet some great people, listen to a relevant message from Pastor John. I like to include some different pictures down here so they can see.
That's good.
Real life people are, right. And that kind of stuff. We don't judge. Like, again, this is part of our culture. Like, hey, we don't care if you have tattoos. We don't care how you dress. We don't care if you have a past. The reason I did those are three of the largest objections that people have when they're visiting a church for the first time, especially if they're unchurched, right? So it's like they're like, oh man, I have tattoos. I've had people ask me this, like, man, I have tattoos. Would I still be like welcome at your church? Like, are you kidding me? Like everybody in our church has tattoos. Like that'd be awesome. People are like, well, I don't really like dress real fancy. I'm like, perfect, right? As long as you wear clothes, you're good. Like, man, we don't care if you have a past. Like, we don't care if you're still hungover from last night, man. Come on, we just want to meet you. So
that's a good note for me, Chris. If I ever come visit your church, I'm going to get a fake tattoo somewhere, you know, just so I make sure I fit in, you know, just something like a sleeve. Maybe I'll get a sleeve.
Bro, we've got so many guys with a sleeve. You would look really cool with a sleeve. Dude, really cool. I don't know if I could pull it off. I've thought about it before. I don't have any tattoos whatsoever, but tons of people are.
Same.
Yeah, I think you'd look really cool with the sleeve. You could do like on Big Bang Theory, you know, where they had those like fake tattoo sleeves. Right?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. I just have one.
Love it, man.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, so this is just like, obviously those are just like 2 stock pictures because we just made this website as an example. So it's actually not, Believe Church isn't real. But, you know, Pastor John and Heather, and then I'll read this part just to explain why, and then we'll kind of, you know, move on. But so what I did with this, most people would say like, hey, like, you know, meet Pastor John. And they'd be like, Pastor John went to seminary for 7 years and he went here and grew up in Dallas and he enjoys long walks on the beach and yellow labs and golden retrievers and like whatever. Right. And it's like, here's the deal. People don't actually care. Right. Like again, everyone's kind of thinking like, what's in it for me subconsciously. Right. It's you know, like we're all just kind of trying to like figure out like, hey, is this a good fit for me? And like where they went to seminary or what type of dogs they like doesn't factor into their decision, right? So instead, the best thing you can do, right? My pastor always says, people don't care that your dog died; they care that their dog died, right? That's what it is, right? It's so I wrote this copy on purpose to talk about them. Right. You know, I talk about the person who's reading it. So instead of doing a bio on the pastor, we'll say like, hey, my name is John. I believe that you are uniquely wired by God for a specific purpose. And then unless you figure out what that purpose is, you'll never be truly fulfilled. Right. The only thing that has to do with Pastor John is my name is John. And then immediately starts talking about the person who's reading that copy. Right. So say, hey, no one else on earth can fulfill the unique calling that God has for you. No one else can fulfill your assignment. Maybe you know exactly what that purpose is. Maybe you've been running from it for a while, or maybe you have absolutely no idea where to even start looking for it. But I want to help you find it because I believe that the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who actually do. Right. So that copy is not going to speak to everyone, but for people who are trying to find their purpose, right, or trying to find their calling, and they believe that they want to tap into something bigger than their lives, right? And do something they don't know how, or they feel like they've been running from it for a while. That copy is going to grab a hold of them and pull them into church on Sunday, right? And for the people like and the people that don't resonate with that won't, and that's actually a good thing, right? Like we're not a church for every single person. I know we all want to be, we all want to think that, but you know, man, there's a reason there's 30 some flavors at Baskin Robbins, right? Like not everybody loves black cherry, raspberry, mint chocolate chip or something, right? Like, man, some people just like chocolate, right? So churches are the same way. There's different flavors all throughout the kingdom. But for people that are specifically trying to find their purpose, right, find their calling and believe that there is a calling on their life or something like that, man, now we're talking about it. But I just want to point that out. Like, I didn't write this like it has nothing to do with Pastor John. Like it's actually kind of subtle, right? Like, hi, I'm Pastor John. Let's talk about you. Right. So that's kind of what it is. So, okay. We'll just
that's good. That's good.
Wants to see the rest of it. Right. Had another plan your visit button, like test drive a sermon instead of listen to a recent sermon. Nobody wants to listen to a recent sermon. But when you say test drive a sermon, everybody was like, oh yeah, I do want to test drive it and see what it sounds like. Right?
Yeah.
So we got a couple of those. All right. Then we talk about kids. Hey, your kids are going to love it here. Same kind of thing. Like, hey, fun services, engaging music, age-appropriate Bible lessons, games, free candy, and your kids can earn Bible bucks at the kids store, right? That kind of stuff. Another plan your visit button. We do things a little different. No awkward first visit, no confusing church language, no judgmental church people. Your kids will beg you to come back. Again, just answering questions and knocking down any objections people might have, but in a really friendly way. And then, you know, finally at the bottom, like, hey, need directions? Don't worry, we got you covered. When you plan your visit, we'll send you all the details that you need to know, right? So we're not like linking to a map or like taking them away from the website where they can go to Google Maps. Like that. It's like, yeah, no problem. Hey, just plan your visit and we'll send you everything you need to know, including the directions, right? Yeah. So, but that's it. That's just kind of an example plan your visit page. but you want to spend time talking about them, which is what this page does.
Gotcha. Okay. So a Facebook ad, Google ad sends them here. They're like, okay, I'm sold. Then what?
Yeah. So I personally like using Text in Church. They have a phenomenal plan your visit tool. Right. So like if you click on that button down there, yep, that's a Text in Church widget. Right. So just be like, hey, fill out the information below. Let us know how you're like, you know, so it's plan your visit. I will say this on that one right there. Like if people are setting this up like at home, I would actually, instead of the church logo, nobody cares about your logo. You should have a picture of the pastor or a video of the pastor, right?
Yep.
Nobody cares about your logo. Everybody wants to know who's the guy that I'm going to listen to talk for 30 or 45 minutes when I show up, right? So a picture of the pastor or video is really great in there, right? So yeah, like, so you just fill out, it's like, you know, name, email, phone number, and Text in Church, right? That can kick off like a whole plan your visit sequence. So they get like a welcome text message right away and all that kind of stuff. So that's all really huge. What we found though is when someone plans a visit, the most important thing that you can do is send them a text message within the first 15 minutes after they plan a visit. Right. So, and the reason for this, right? Like, so you either want to call them or send a text. I personally like a phone call, and here's why. I know we're in the age of texting, right? Like, and I've come so close so many times, like the voicemail, like on my phone, right? Like what I really want to do is just like, hey, what's up? It's Abbott. Text me. Right. Cause you know, like literally on my voicemail right now, it'll say like, hey, man, leave me a voicemail. I'll get back to you within 24 hours, or better yet, text me and I'll probably get back to you within 5 minutes. Right. Like, so I know text message is a really big thing. However, the reason I like a phone call up front is because, right, just in our culture right now, people don't have a lot of one-on-one conversations, right? Especially this kind of stuff. So if they answer, now it gives you the opportunity to introduce yourself and have a one-on-one conversation. Most people aren't going to answer a phone number that they don't know, but some people will. But if they answer, great, you can have a great conversation. If they don't, which is what most people do, you can now leave a voicemail, right? And now people, it's just another touch point. Like they hear your voice talking about planning your visit, right? And what happens is, again, it's all subconsciously, but they connect like church on Sunday to you as you called, right? So if you're the senior pastor, you can call. If you want to have somebody else on your team call, like that's fine. But you want to make sure they're making like that personal connection. So now it's like, oh yeah, like I'm, you know, it's not just like, hey, I'm going to church on Sunday. I think maybe somebody's going to be waiting for me. It's like, oh no, I talked to Katie, right? Like I'm meeting Katie on Sunday, right? Or whatever it is. So that part's really important. But with a phone call, you can leave a voicemail and then you can text them immediately afterwards and say basically the same thing. And now if they like talking on the phone, they'll call you back. If they like texting, they'll text you back. And now you know the best way to communicate with them moving forward. Right. So I'm a texter.
Yeah, that's good.
If they did that to me, I would immediately text them back. Now we can go back and forth with texting all day long. I'm not great at calling people back. But I'll text all day long. Right. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, so I've finished. It recognized that my primary number is invalid, the 5555. so it caught me. But that's how they would finish it. They'd submit that, and then it would kick off the workflow for them. So let me stop sharing that screen.
They're going to get an automated text message at that point, which is good. You want them to get some type of a confirmation, but they need to hear from someone at your church within the next 15 minutes. Right. Which isn't easy. Like, you know, it's a commitment. But what happens? So, you know, we talk about like the number one mistake that churches make when they're first trying to do plan your visit. Right. So like one of them, which is a big one, is just not launching because they say they're, you know, oh, we're going to train everybody, and then you never launch it. Right. But if you actually do launch it, the number one mistake people make that keeps people away from their church is they don't call the plan your visit within 15 minutes. Right. And so here's what happens when that happens. Right. So you have an unchurched person who sees, you know, like maybe a video invite ad on Facebook, right, of your pastor. Say, hey, what's up, man? My name's, you know, Pastor Abbott. I want to invite you out to church on Sunday. Man, just click on the link below. Man, sign up for plan your visit, and then we'll actually have a friendly person, you know, meet you at the front door on Sunday, kind of show you around, help you get your kids checked into kids church, save seats with you. Right. Man, we'll have a great time. Right. So Then they go over to the plan your visit page. They read through the page, like, okay, I'm in, right? They click on it, they fill out everything, they schedule the appointment, right? But then they don't ever hear from anyone. What happens is they start thinking, they're like, man, I signed up for that plan your visit thing. Like, did I do it right? Did I do something wrong? Am I in? It's like, is anyone checking that? Like, oh shoot, did they like go to my personal profile on Facebook and like see that like my life isn't cleaned up or whatever enough to come to their church? And so, all right, and so then they start experiencing rejection. Then they don't show up on Sunday, right? And so then you guys are like, Nathan, Abbo, we watched the interview on Plan Your Visit. We tried it. We got 5 Plan Your Visits and nobody showed up on Sunday. It's like, yeah, right? That's what happens.
It's almost like it falls on it's going to fall on either side of it. If you respond within 15 minutes, then hey, you're kicking off credibility and a great experience, and hey, you're communicating you care. But not responding quickly, now it's going to fall on the other side. It's almost like there's no middle ground with that. They're not just going to walk away with like, oh, I'm sure, assume the best, and like, oh, I'm sure, they're going to reach out to me, or no, it's going to be like, oh, great experience, you can respond quick, or not a great experience, bad impression. So it's almost better not to do, if you're not going to have a good system for following up, if I'm hearing what you're saying, than to try to do this and do it wrong. Now you're gonna leave people frustrated.
Yep. That's exactly what it is, right? Like, so you'll have people signing up for Plan Your Visit, they just won't be showing up on Sunday.
Sure.
Right. So that's the big thing. And I know, like, obviously you don't need to call them at 3:00 in the morning if you get a Plan Your Visit.
Right.
Like at my church, we do like a 9 to 9 window, right? So like if a Plan Your Visit comes in after 9 a.m. and before 9 p.m., right, then we call them within 15 minutes. If it's after 9 p.m., right, then all we do is we just wait till the next morning at 9 a.m. and then we call them, right? So, excuse me, that's that's doing a 9 to 9 window. People don't expect you if they're stumbling back from the bar, right, on like Friday night, and they see a Facebook ad and they get convicted, decide they need to come to church, whatever. It's 2 a.m. They sign up for Plan Your Visit. They're not expecting a phone call, and let's be honest, if they did get a phone call, it'd be kind of creepy, right? So you don't have to go in the middle of the night, but 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., give them a call. And then people are like, oh my gosh, there's an actual person waiting for me at the front door on Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. So real quick, recap the 4 steps, stages, or I forget what you call them, but like the 4 elements of Plan Your Visit. What are those again?
Yeah. So Facebook ad, landing page, hosted visit, and then follow-up system. Right. Okay. So for follow-up system, again, Text in Church is phenomenal. For me, that's what I do is use Plan Your Visit for or use Text in Church for the Plan Your Visit, like text side of it, that they could sign up for it. And then also after they visit on Sunday, I would plug them into a follow-up system. Like I know Text in Church has a 6-week follow-up system that they've built that like just comes like when you first sign up for an account, it's already there. So you just start plugging people into your 6-week follow-up system, right? And now they're going to get a series of emails, text messages, and personal phone calls from you and your team or whatever that's going to come through Text in Church for the next 6 weeks, right? Because the only thing better than a first-time visitor is a second-time visitor, right? So once we get them in the doors, we need to get them to come back again.
Yeah, and for those interested in, you're watching and you're like, man, I want to set this up. I need more in-depth teaching on it. We actually have a course on this, and if you're interested in that, we'd love for you to be a part of it. You can just text free to this number right here. We also have our top 10 church growth resources that we put together, and we'll be able to give you access to those. So if you've made it this far into the video and maybe you just started watching, then right there, you can text free to that number, and we'll get you those resources. Plus, we can show you how you can get access to a course where we actually teach in depth how to install this, how to get this all together, the whole system working. So it's pretty phenomenal and pretty great. Okay, so Chris, what if we show some results? This is kind of the fun part. Show some results of what some churches that we're working with that they're seeing using Plan Your Visit. So I'm going to just add this to the stream here, and I'll just let you walk through it because I know you know a lot of the stories. Actually personally a lot of these churches and know their experience, so you can kind of add the context here. So I'll just pull up the first one here and let you have at it.
So this one's, Pastor Dennis. Cool thing is these are like all over the country, right? Doesn't matter what part of the country you're in, but Pastor Dennis, man, said first Sunday, 3 Plan Your Visits and 21 guests, right? And literally he did exactly what we just talked about. He launched a Facebook ad, then went to his Plan Your Visit page, right? And then people sign up for Plan Your Visit, and then right, and that was it. So first Sunday that he tried that, 3 Plan Your Visits and 21 guests. I think this next one. Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say, Nathan?
Well, I was just gonna say, it reminded me of one of the churches that I was working with, helping out. We did this past Easter and saw, like, they had never done this. They were starting a new location, and bro, it like blew up. I know we were talking before about I don't know why this one didn't come to mind, but we did the whole Plan Your Visit thing. We did the Easter Lamp, just like you told us to do. I got to put this in, and this is a buddy of mine, so kind of a cool relationship that we've got. But I was like, bro, you got to do this Plan Your Visit thing. It's going to be awesome. He's like, okay, let's do it. And we did Facebook ads, just like you taught with the selfie video thing. Drove traffic, and I want to make sure I get the numbers right. But we had 50. They had 59 first-time guests, just the adults, not including kids. Bro. 59. Yeah, and if you factored in how much they spent on their Facebook ads, it was like $11.40 if you were to calculate it like that per visitor. And I was just like, dude,
$11.40 per visitor?
Yeah, like actually showed up visitor, like $11.40. I'm like, man, what church in America wouldn't spend and invest $11.40 for someone to hear the gospel? I was just like, and it was so cool for me because one, it's a buddy of mine. But for us to do this and personally put it together and then to see the results was like awesome. So sorry, I just like hijacked our little testimony time here, but that like literally came to mind as you were saying this one. I was like, why didn't I think we were just talking about these testimonies. So anyway, pretty incredible. Here, I'll jump to the next one here.
Yeah. So this one was Pastor Gavin, right? Said, hey, we had 7 Plan Your Visits this week, 15 first-time guests today. Same thing. That was like the first or second week that he started running Plan Your Visit. With a Facebook ad. And then this one was Tiffany. She said, hey, we just started Plan Your Visit last week and had 2 new families. This week, we already have 1 signed up. We're believing this is going to explode. We're the only church in our city that's currently doing this. I mean, to that point, I'll say this. All right. So not only if you do this right, like not only will it start working like the very first week, but like, and I only say that because I've taught this to over 1,000 churches at this point or whatever, like, and whether I've run their ads or whether I just kind of coach them through this process, like it just starts working from the beginning. And again, it's not rocket surgery or anything like that. It's just that this lowers the barrier of entry for people to visit. Right. So if you do it right, like you're going to have people who are going to sign up for Plan Your Visit and then show up on Sunday. And it also gives you an advantage, right? If people go to like Google and they're going through like just looking at different church websites, and if you're the only one showing up in your city that's doing Plan Your Visit, you have an unfair advantage over everybody else because there's like, you're going to have, especially unchurched people are going to be signing up for Plan Your Visit. So
yeah, super cool. Love that.
This is Pastor Aaron. Hey, so I posted an ad for the weekend message and tied it to the Plan Your Visit page. 2 hours later, we have our first Plan Your Visit. I don't know about you guys. Like I love quick results, right? Like it's, because sometimes you like launch that and then like nothing for a couple of days. You're like, man, are people there? It looks like they're clicking on it. Is our Plan Your Visit stuff working? Right? Like how cool is that? You launch a Facebook ad and 2 hours later you get a Plan Your Visit. Like, I guess this does work. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it is fun like that. It's almost like you just, wow, I could just flip a switch. I mean, it's a little more complicated than that, but not. I mean, it is pretty amazing. Then you just get to sit back and watch it come in. You're like, oh my gosh, why haven't I been doing this? Way before this point. So yeah, super cool. Okay. Oh yeah, this is Pastor Keith.
Yeah. So I love this. You and I were actually talking about this beforehand. So here's what I like about this one. So like, heads up, we're getting crazy Plan Your Visits, right? We've had over 1,100 new visitors to our website in the past 8 days between the Grow Google Ads team and running the ads on Facebook. 13 Plan Your Visits this week. So here's what's cool. Like, remember, like we talked about earlier, how, it's usually like for every 200 or 300 clicks that you have to your website, you get a Plan Your Visit, right? So some people might be shocked, like, wait, only 1,100 people went to their website and they only got 13 Plan Your Visits. It's like, yes. And that's completely normal. But like those numbers are really, really good. Because here's the deal. They probably paid like 25 or 30 cents per click. Right. So like, it's nothing crazy that you're getting that. But here's my favorite part about this, right? Is you have 1,100 clicks to the website, 1,100 new visitors. you actually just invited 1,100 people to church, right? You planted a seed.
Mm-hmm.
We all know, like, every single person who's, like, probably watching this interview has at least one, if not 100 people that they've invited to church, and they didn't come the very first Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I've got friends I've been working on for years trying to get them to come to church, right? And what's funny is just sometimes, like, one Sunday they just show up, right? Like, they just, or they finally just say yes. I know, like, when, for me, like, I was in the very first day of 7th grade, bro. I don't know if I ever told you this story. In the very first day of 7th grade, I showed up to homeroom, right? And we had to sit in alphabetical order. So there's this girl right behind me, Dana, and I was like, dude, there's this super hot girl sitting behind me, right? So like I said, so I turned around, introduced myself, whatever, and I was just like, my little 7th grade self. I was like, okay, in 1 week she'll be my girlfriend, right? It actually took 4 days, so. But what was cool is, it was 7th grade. So I think we broke up like 3 weeks later because we decided we were better
right.
girlfriend, whatever it was. But literally, like, she was a Christian and she would tell me about Jesus all the time, right? Like, I mean, all the time. And she would witness to me for 2 years because we became like best friends. For 2 years, she invited me to church over and over and over. But like, I'd been to church when I was a kid and it sucked and it was super boring. So I was like, I don't want to go. So I was just like, no, I'm good, right? And she invited me to some like different, like, kind of bridge events, right? Like open gyms, and I went to a DC Talk concert with her and stuff like that. What was crazy is, like, literally she invited me to church over and over and over for 2 years. And so, like, literally one day, like 2 weeks before my freshman year of high school, 2 years later, I hadn't talked to her in a little while, right? Like most of the summer. I woke up one day and I was like, dude, I'm going to go to church on Sunday. Like, and literally, like, now it wasn't a super wholesome idea, right? But I was just like, man, Dana's been looking really hot. We're getting ready to have high school. Like, I should like Dana, like, I should probably go make Dana my girlfriend again. And so, like, literally, I was like, my church, I'll just go to church on Sunday. I'll show up and I'll surprise her, right? And then, get brownie points and she'll be my girlfriend again. But my whole point to that or whatever is that, like Dana, like, planted those seeds. And by the way, I did go that Sunday and actually, like, got saved that Sunday. And the church camp was starting that day. So I, like, ran home, packed a bag, called my best friend. I was like, Kippy, pack a bag. We're going to church camp. He's like, I'll be ready in 10 minutes. Right. And, like, going to church camp. He got saved later that day. I got saved. Like, we gave our lives to Jesus. Right. Got called into ministry, like the whole deal, all because Dana Arnold invited me to church, but she invited me for 2 years. So anyway, that's why I point on, like, the clicks. When people are like, 1,100 people went to your website and only 13 of them planned a visit. It's like, yeah, some people might take a little while. Like, they might not come the very first time. I think we all understand.
Right. Well, and two, the plan your visit. I mean, do we know an average of, like, each plan your visit usually represents, like a family or, 2.5 people, kind of like a car coming into the parking lot? You usually factor about 2.5 people per plan your visit. Is it right around that?
Yeah,
number?
It's exactly the same. So for us, it's typically about 3 people, right? National is about 2.5 to 3 people, just like you would count like a car or something like that. And so, because what's going to happen is, like, sometimes you're going to have like a college student who's visiting for the very first time, right? Sometimes it's a family of 6. Right. So on average, each plan your visit is typically around 3 people. So we know, like, okay, if we have 3 plan your visits for this Sunday, those plan your visits are probably going to account for about 9 or 10 people. Right. So that's kind of helpful to know that. And I think here's what's cool too, just like with the numbers that we were just looking at, right? 1,100 visitors to the website, 13 plan your visits. Right. So if you do the math, that means that every time like 84 people click on the ad and go to the website, they get a plan your visit. Right. Now, here's why that's really, really important, is knowing that you can now reverse engineer how many plan your visits you want to get every single Sunday. Right. So this is like one of the best numbers anyone could ever figure out at their church. Right. So let's just say on average, I'm gonna do a little bit of quick math here. I got my trusty calculator. We'll see if we do this here. But just so let's just say that you don't do as good as them. Let's just say for you, it's every 200 clicks you end up getting a plan your visit, right? And then let's say, like, you're getting clicks for 20 cents a piece. Okay, so that 100 clicks times 20 cents, right, is going to be $20, right? And so let's just make the math easy. Let's say 100 clicks, right? So every time you have 100 clicks, right, you're going to spend $20 at 20 cents a click. and you're going to get a plan your visit, right? So here's what's here's what's cool. Let's say you say, okay, we want to make sure that we have 10 plan your visits every single week, right? Okay, well, you know that it's every 100 clicks on average, you get a plan your visit, and at 20 cents a piece, right, costs you about $20 to get 100 clicks and one plan your visit. So you're just like, okay, well, if we want 10 of those, right, then you just multiply times 10. So we know, okay, and every week we're going to spend $200 per week, right? And $200 is going to end up getting us, was that 2,000 clicks? Did I just do this right? I'm messing myself up. It was 1,000 clicks. Excuse me. Okay, we spend $200. We're going to get 1,000 clicks, and that's going to be about 10 plan your visits, right? Which again is probably going to be about 30 new visitors, right? Not everybody's going to be going for that. Maybe you're trying for 3 plan your visits or 5 or whatever it is. But that's my point is, once you know, okay, on average, every time 100 people click to our website, we get a plan your visit, right? Then you can do the math like on your Facebook ad, and you realize, okay, so we know every time we spend $20 on Facebook, on average, we get a Facebook or, we get a plan your visit. So now you can just raise or lower your budget based on how many plan your visits you're trying to reverse engineer. So really, really fun stuff when you start getting into those numbers.
Yeah, that's super cool. And for everybody watching, we help churches know how to do those Facebook ads. In fact, we do boot camps for all of our grow churches and help them walk through especially for the big events. So like for Easter, for Christmas, the leading up to those events, we teach and do boot camps, and we have courses as well that teach on this, but we do specific boot camps leading up to those big events saying, okay, here's what you need to do. Here's how you do the self-video. We walk through actually how to build the ads, all of that. Here's the plan your visit, get it all set up so you're ready for those momentum moments in the calendar year, really make sure that you're taking advantage of it. It's really what my buddy and I did, where I was like, okay, man, you're in your new place. Easter's coming up. Like you gotta make sure you capitalize on this. And dude, I'm so glad that he said yes to that, because he saw just massive results. It was super cool. So if you're interested in that, I want to encourage you to text free to that number right there. Plus, you get access to our top 10 church growth resources that we make available to churches that text that free there to that number. So, Chris, anything else you would say about plan your visit? Anything else that you want to kind of put a bow on this conversation that church leaders that are tuning in need to hear?
Yeah. I think the most important thing to understand on this, right, is that, so we talked about ready, fire, aim earlier, right? Like the thing I just want to encourage churches, because I know because I've helped a bunch of churches with plan your visit, and I know the biggest thing is everyone's like, hey, we want to do things with excellence, right? We want to honor God with excellence. We want to everything we do in our churches with excellence. And absolutely, we need to honor the gospel. We need to honor the Lord. Everything we need to do is with excellence. However, excellence doesn't mean waiting 3 months and trying to get everything perfect, right? Because there is no such thing as perfect. And I think this is where a lot of people do this. A lot of times this idea of excellence actually becomes an excuse that we hide behind to mask a fear of failure, right? So we're afraid. It's like, okay, well, what if we run Facebook ads to plan your visit page and nobody comes, right? Like, what if we waste $200 on Facebook and nobody comes, right? First off, you wouldn't be wasting it. That's still investing, right? And planting that seed and inviting those people, right? Even if nobody showed up. But secondly, right? Like, I know people say, oh, what if we do this and it doesn't work? Like, we do all this and it's just like, nobody wants to come to church, right? Well, great, right? Like if that happens now, you can actually take a look and say, hey, what part of this didn't work? Was it the Facebook ad, right? Like, and nobody was clicking on it, or were we getting clicks and people were going to the website? But they weren't planning a visit, right? I mean, is it our page? Was our website loading too slow, right? Like, but it can help uncover some other things along the way, right? Like maybe they're clicking on your ad, they're going to the page, they're signing up for plan your visit, they're showing up to church, but they're not coming back again, right? So okay, let's take a look at our follow-up system. So there's a lot of different things here, but you won't learn any of that stuff if you hide behind an excuse of excellence. And again, I fully validate we need to do things with excellence, but don't use it as an excuse. So sometimes the best things to do in order to be excellent is launching something that is imperfect, right? And those two, that's not like an oxymoron. Those are harmonious. Sometimes excellence is launching something that's imperfect. So done is better than perfect. So the best thing you can do is just launch right now. That's why I talk about ready, fire, aim, right? Just go launch Facebook ads, and plan your visit. And here's what's going to happen is you're actually going to learn more about Plan Your Visit the first 1 or 2 Sundays, right? Than you will in months of prep and research, right? Like you just launch Plan Your Visit and then you realize, oh, you know what? People were showing up on Sunday, but we didn't have the host waiting for them at the front door. They were actually in the back getting coffee or whatever. And so shoot, we need to change that, right? Like research wouldn't have uncovered that. Launching Plan Your Visit will, right? So just like, oh yeah, like, oh, hey, we found that, man, when they went into the service, like all the, everyone had taken all the seats in the front. That actually doesn't happen in most churches, right? People first, right? But okay, so what you do is you can fix all of that once you actually launch it. But done is better than perfect. If you want to be excellent, just launch something that's imperfect, get Plan Your Visit out there, right? And start hosting new people, taking care of them. And then, if you have a friendly church, you're going to see your assimilation just skyrocket because you're connecting with people.
Man, super good. So good. Well, I encourage you to take that to heart. And again, if you're want to hear more about this and would also like to get access to our top 10 resources, I'll put this up here. You can text the word free to the number there on the screen, get you access to those top 10 resources, and also how you can learn more about Plan Your Visit and be a part of our boot camps and all of that. Chris, dude, thank you so much. This was so good. In fact, I loved it because I learned some more about Plan Your Visit. Again, I'm kind of like captivated by that idea of starting the assimilation process earlier. And that's what Plan Your Visit does, is it starts that relationship connection, and that impacts them getting plugged in sooner. And I never put the connection together I've heard that story of the impact it had on your church, but like, that's the reason why they were able to get plugged in within 3 weeks and doesn't take 3 months. And the chance of them falling off in that 3-month period is much higher than if you do it quickly in 3 weeks. So love it. Brilliant. So good. Thanks again for everybody tuning in. We're just going to wrap this up here. Thanks for being a part and learning about Plan Your Visit. Again, if you'd like more information, just text that word free to the number there, and we'll get you some resources. It'd be great. So thanks again, Chris. We're going to shut her down. Yeah, this is awesome. All right, we'll do it again, okay?
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. See ya.
See you, bro.